especially working at Cavender's, right? So you have to go through and you have to sort your hats. You have to put new hats up. Some of those hats that have been up there on the racks for a long time, they're very dusty, and you clean those as part of your everyday job.
Right.
And that dust will get into your nose. And so I would come home just the same as this guy, and my sinuses would be clogged. So I started wearing dust mask when I would dust the hats, or when I was sanding, because sanding is another big one. And if it never failed, I would be wearing a silver belly, and somebody would come in and want a black hat cut down. So I go home, and your silver belly is completely covered in black felt, and that's just part of the hat business, right?
Oh, yeah, I've gone home looking like I work at Discount Tire. I mean, just horrible.
Yeah. That brings me to another thing, right? So if you're working on black hats all day, or if you're working on silver belly, have a pair of gloves. I always carried a box of rubber gloves with me to work. So if I was shaping a silver belly, I could or a white hat, whatever, you could put a pair of gloves on, and you're not going to transfer that black 20x resistol, to your silver belly. Yeah. Because that 20x resistol will bleed all over your fingers. It's one of the worst, right? So
yeah. Not as bad as the El Presidente.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I had not seen that, but I could imagine. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of, what is this called again? Well, I mean,
hey guys, welcome back to the Hat Bar Chat.
There you go.
The Hat Bar Chat. Thank you.
I've seen your show once or twice.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
Well, this is a new segment for us. Hey guys, welcome back to Cowboy Cartel. This is a new episode of the Hat Bar Chat, and we're here with Lawrence Jagneaux.
You said it right. Yeah.
He is better known as the Houston Hat Guy. And you're kind of all over TikTok at the moment. You have been for, how long have you been on TikTok?
4 years maybe.
4 years,
yeah.
Okay. So I think you came to my attention within the last 2 years.
Okay.
I can't say exactly. Yes, I do know when. It was when you did a hat for the cattle guy.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, cattle guy. I recall that one well.
How long ago was that? Was that about a year and a half?
Yeah, about a year. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get into that. But first, tell us about you. How did you become the Houston Hat Guy? And how did you get into hats?
Okay. So I have been a hat nerd ever since I was a teenager. I like wearing hats, like messing with hats. But after I retired, I needed something to do. So my wife said, you spend so much time and money at Cavender's, you ought to work there. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. So I went to Cavender's, talked to the head honcho. One thing led to another, and I became their hat guy.
How long ago was that?
6 years.
6 years. All right. Yeah. And then when did you, when did you start doing the videos? 4 years ago?
3 or 4 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So what led?
Under duress.
Under duress?
Yeah, because I didn't even know, well, let me back up. I work with a lot of kids. Cavender's hires a bunch of high school kids to work part-time.
Sure.
During the summers, during the holiday season. Anyway, some of the kids that work there said, you do cool stuff. You ought to be on TikTok. Well, at the time, TikTok was nothing more than a bunch of dancing girls and people doing crazy stuff. So I didn't have any interest in it. But they persisted and convinced me that 1 or 2 people might actually like to see what I do. So they put me on TikTok, and next thing I knew, I was getting challenges from all over the place. You know, can you put a skull in a crown? Can you put a heart in the crown, or the state of Texas? And I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. And it just blew up from there.
Well, I mean, it has blown up. And tell me about this. Do you at least teach some of these kids who you work with how to shape hats?
Absolutely.
So I've been familiar with Cavenders for quite a long time. I worked at Cavenders in Austin, and there's a high turnover, right? So when you find a kid who wants to learn how to shape hats, how long do you get to keep them? Like, have you got any good hat shapers there that you've taught and who've stayed around a while?
Absolutely. So most young kids or young men that come in to work, they're fascinated by the hat bar, and they all want to become hat shapers.
Sure.
And they all get a shot. Some who show, real promise, they get better, and they get better, and they get better. I work with a kid now that is every bit as good as me, if not better. But he's in dental school. So once he graduates, everything that I've taught him, every skill that he has is lost.
Right.
That's why they call this a dying art.
Absolutely. How often are you at Cavenders? Is this now your full-time job?
Oh yeah, it's a full-time job now. And I'm there almost every day, depending on the schedule, depending on the season. For example, Houston has the largest rodeo in the world.
Right.
So during rodeo season, I'm there much more frequently than I am, say now. So I'm with you today, I'll be off tomorrow, which typically I would be there.
Now, Cavenders probably has a booth at the Houston Rodeo. You're not at the Cavenders booth, or?
I have worked the Cavenders booth in the past, yeah, at the rodeo.
Okay.
But now that I've become a shaper they can trust, during rodeo season, I rarely am not at Cavenders. The one on 290, that is.
All right. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So a lot of people may not know which Cavenders, because Cavenders has a lot of stores right now. What are they up to? They're over 100 now.
Yeah, I think they're pushing 120 right now.
Wow. I think it was 97 a couple of years ago, just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I was at their 100th store doing branding and shaping.
Oh, where was that?
That was near Austin.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a great point. So you're a valuable asset for Cavenders.
I'd like to think so.
They don't have a lot of, they're not doing a lot on social media, right? So you kind of represent Cavenders, and you're always in my feed on TikTok and Instagram. So you're probably out there for most people in Instagram, and you're getting Cavenders some exposure that maybe they might not have. Sure, Cavenders, everybody knows Cavenders in the Western industry, but it's keeping it in their mind, right? So if you say every time, hey, where are you at on Cavenders? What Cavenders?
I end every video by saying, hey, you guys come see me. I'm at Cavenders on 290, and thanks for watching.
Yeah. So we haven't had a chance to get out there yet. Last time we were in Houston, I think was for a video or an event. I think it was an event for the hat store.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to come out and check you out, but I mean, we were on a pretty tight schedule, and we don't get down there very often because of the traffic.
Yeah.
It's a rough one down there.
We're scared of Houston.
We're a little scared of Houston.
Well, now the traffic here is horrible. I don't know that the traffic is horrible, but I've never been anywhere that I can get lost so fast as this place.
Well, I mean, it does have. You got to know where you're going. Like, we're only about 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes from the stockyards. But I know if I get on 35W and go down to the stockyards, it's going to take a lot longer. So you got to take the back roads sometimes. And that's just kind of the way it is. Okay. So how long have you lived in Houston?
Oh my goodness, since 1989.
Mm-hmm.
So I've lived longer in Houston than I have Louisiana, which is where I'm from.
Just seeing how your name is spelled, that was the first thing I asked. Where are you from, Louisiana?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Anybody whose name ends in X, there's a good chance they're from Louisiana.
There's a very good chance, yes. Yeah. So you grew up in Louisiana?
Uh-huh.
And moved to Texas for work, I'm assuming?
For work. I worked about 30 years in oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I retired, I piddled around and came up with all kind of projects. And finally, my wife said, I'm tired of seeing you. Go do something.
Right.
So I ended up at Cavender's. Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of the way I wound up at Cavender's, because I was working. I had traveled for many years all over the world, and I took this job in Austin at Tesla, which I had a lot more free time than I needed, and so I wound up spending a lot of money at Cavender's and at Lucchese, and it was one of the two.
Everybody does.
It was one of the two, right? So I decided, you know what? I've got all this time on my hands. Let's just do something at Cavender's. Yeah. And kind of the same way you got there. And I started shaping hats there.
Yeah.
So where did you learn to shape hats?
Well, like I said, I started as a teenager, just playing with it. Once I started at Cavender's, I had never shaped hats commercially.
Right.
So when I started that, it was somewhat intimidating. Even though I knew a little bit about it, I had to move fast. So I watched videos. I watched the manager shape hats. I watched some of the assistant managers, and I just absorbed everything that I could and put it to work.
Well, let's back up there. So how did you get the job at Cavender's?
So I walked in and I said, "Who's the head honcho here?" And got an appointment with the manager. And as luck would have it, he needed a hat guy. So he said, "What experience do you have?" Well, my experience is oil and gas, which doesn't make you a good hat shaper.
Right.
He said, "Well, let me ask you differently." He said, "Who shaped the hat that you're wearing?" I did. He said, "Okay, I'm going to start you out next week, Tuesday. Can you start Tuesday? You'll be my hat guy." But he asked me a question that I thought was hilarious, which I thought he was kidding, but now I truly understand. He said, "Before you start, do you know your fractions?" And I thought, is this guy messing with me?
Do you know your fractions?
Do you know your fractions? Yeah, of course. Who doesn't? Most people have no clue.
Really? So,
goodness.
Knowing, I understand. He was asking, do you know the difference between 7 1/4 and 7 5/8, which is bigger?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And shockingly, most people don't know their fractions, especially when it comes to hats. I had a guy one time. I was helping him, or I was helping with a customer, and he went around the hat bar. And he picked up a hat, and when I got back to the hat bar, he said, "Hey, I just tried on this 6X. It's a little tight. I think I might need a 7X."
You might.
Maybe.
You might. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. So you got the job at Cavender's.
Yep.
And you watched YouTube videos trying to
get up to speed.
Get up to speed. Okay.
Right.
How'd that go?
It went surprisingly well.
Yeah?
Yeah. Actually, what I did was I bought a bunch of the cheaper hats.
Yeah.
And took them home. Because I wasn't going to experiment and learn how to shape at a commercial level on somebody's hat that they paid good money for.
Right.
So I took a bunch of wool hats to my house, which anybody who knows dealing with wool hats is horrible.
Yeah.
If you can be proficient with a wool hat, a felt hat is a piece of cake.
So when we kind of do that in the school. So we will progress them from a Bangora to a Shantung and from a wool to a beaver hat.
Yep.
Usually 40X. So yes, we like to start them out on whatever is cheapest, right? Because they're going to go through a lot of Bangora, or we put 4 or 5 shapes in one hat, and before we move on to another one, and so on. So it's definitely harder to work on Bangora and felt and wool than it is to work on Shantung. But I mean, you can ruin a Shantung real quick if you don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of why we do it that way.
Yeah.
And the same thing, with a good felt hat too, because if you really put some hard creases in that, $1,000 hat, it might take some work to get those out of there if you can get them out at all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I do a lot of repairs.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would say most would be attributed to oversteaming the hat.
Yeah.
If you oversteam the hat, then you've got problems.
You're warping it.
That brim is just, it's not going to be your friend.
Right. And we talked about that too. We talked about using a granite or marble surface, which is what we always recommend. And I know, I always tell the story of the Cavender's Hat Bar in Austin because it was a wood surface and I could never get that hat really flat. And I go to Joby's and here in Fort Worth, and he's got granite all the way across all, in the entire hat bar, and that thing will just get flat as a pancake.
Yeah, absolutely. Heat transfer.
Right, exactly. And so what about the Cavenders you're working at? Does it have?
I have a granite block.
Yeah. That
I use for, to flatten hats, to get a real sharp front on the brim for any number of reasons. But the ability for that granite to soak up that heat as quickly as it does, it causes that felt to seize up, and you get a much better end product.
Absolutely. We found that many times over, and that's what we recommend. If you can afford it, if you can absolutely absolutely get to a granite surface, that's going to get your best product out.
And if you can't, get some metal or glass.
Yeah.
Something
glass that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've not used glass, but we'll have to check that out.
Doesn't work as well as granite.
Right.
Typically because granite is so thick.
It's so thick.
And glass is so thin.
Right.
But it's way better than wood.
Yes, I can imagine. So let's talk about your. You said you fixed hats. You fix hats that come in, but there's one we talked about when we first started. The cattle guy.
Yeah.
He posted a video about a year and a half ago, where his liquid feeder just kind of blew up all over his hat. Yep. And all over him too.
The hose, I think there was too much pressure and it popped off, blew liquid feed all into the cab of his truck and his hat. And if you don't know what liquid feed is, it's an additive that you put on the feed, and it's the primary ingredient is molasses, which is primarily sugar, and sugar is very acidic to felt hats.
If you haven't seen this video, it's what did he have? Was it a 10X American felt? Was it gray? What color was it?
Pecan.
Pecan.
Yeah.
Well, all right. The liquid feed was like a red-brown color.
Dark brown. Yeah.
And he contacted you, or you contacted him?
Well, this is one of the most stupid things I've ever done. This is me getting cocky.
Right.
Because I had restored a bunch of hats, and it's kind of my thing now.
Yeah.
I like to bring an old hat back to life. So a friend of mine sent me the video of this poor guy having a horrible day. And I saw it, and I thought, I can fix that. Now, mind you, I had not even seen the hat. This was sight unseen. So I get on TikTok and say, cattle guy, hi, I'm hat guy, nice to meet you. Send your hat to me. If I can't make it look new again, I'll buy you a new hat.
And so this is you personally buying, not Cavender's buying?
No, not Cavender's, just me.
All right.
Running my mouth.
And so 10X American at the time, probably $450.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I got lots of feedback on the comments. Everybody wanted to see me clean the hat, and give updates. And anyway, when Cattle Guy dropped off the hat, I wasn't there, but the manager, he got the hat. And when I got to work the next day, here he comes with the box, and he's laughing. He's like, that hat came in and you were screwed. Even had someone comment, hey, I'm a liquid feed dealer. You're going to have to buy this guy a new hat.
Right.
So I don't like to be wrong. I challenged myself in front of I don't know, 70,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So I either needed to come through or shut my mouth. So I started scraping on that hat, doing all the typical things. And that molasses would it would be gummy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it kept spreading on the hat. The more I touch it, the more it would spread. So my daughter is eating pancakes or waffles or something. And the kids keep the syrup in the refrigerator. And then they'll take it out of the refrigerator, put it in the microwave to get it hot, and put it back in the refrigerator. So I wondered, the viscosity
Changes, right, as you get colder. Sure.
So I thought, what if I freeze this hat? I mean, I got nothing to lose. Chances are I'm going to have to buy this guy a new hat anyway. So I froze it, put it in a deep freezer. When I pulled it out, the places on the hat that had the most liquid feed began to separate in sheets from the felt. So I started pulling it off, and as it would begin to thaw, I'd have to put it back in. And eventually I pulled all of the liquid feed off, gave it a good bath, scrubbed it, dried it, then saw areas that needed to be scrubbed again, over and over again. But I made the hat look right. So the last day before I sent it to him, I looked at one of his videos to see how he actually shaped his hats so I could shape the hat in like he likes it, and I sent it to him.
What was the response you got from him?
He put out a video and he said, let's see if Houston Hat Guy has to buy me a new hat. And he said, based on the way this hat looked, it's impossible that he got it clean. So he did an unboxing and showed the hat, and it was as close to new as possible. And so he congratulated me and said, thank you. And other people were like, I can't believe you did that. Some people even said, you bought a new hat and just sent him a new hat, which that did not happen.
Right.
Yeah. So it turned out all right. I didn't have, my foot was in my mouth, but I was able to take it out.
You made it right. It probably took you a lot longer, and your time and effort into it is probably a couple $100 worth at least, right?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, all I was working for was not to be proven wrong. So I spent a lot of time on that hat.
So let me ask you this: Did that video and that process of cleaning that hat, did that get you more views, more subscribers, and more customers?
Yes, it did. Cattle Guy has, I don't know, 500,000 followers maybe.
Sure.
So when he put that out, and then when I said I was going to do it, people began to follow just to see what the end result was. And now I've become known as the guy who can restore hats.
Right.
I'm working with a woman now who sent me a hat from her nephew's hat. They were caught in a hurricane or a tornado in Mississippi, and the hat got pretty much destroyed. And so she did a video saying, hey, if anybody knows how to fix this hat. So I reached out to her and I said, send it to me. I'll make it new again and send it back to you.
I may have seen that. Was that recently?
Yeah.
I think we've been really busy over the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I did catch something on that. I haven't really got to dig into it. So I'm going to be interested to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
Is it was it just waterlogged? Is it flattened? What was the?
It was beat to hell and back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was underwater. It was full of mud. It was crushed. And the poor kid who owns the hat, his parents had the foresight to get him to take the hat off while this tornado was headed in their direction, and put a motorcycle helmet on to protect him.
Right.
And after it was all over, the kid was blown like 60 yards from his house. When they found him, he was unresponsive.
Wow.
He's been through several surgeries getting wood from being thrown into the woods out of his body.
So what was he doing out there?
That's where he lives.
Okay.
Yeah, lives in Mississippi.
So it came in and destroyed the house?
Right. They lost everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when I saw this sweet woman asking for help, and understanding the situation, I mean, how could I not help if I
Sure.
know how to do it? So
What kind of hat is it?
it is a Justin wool hat,
Oh, wow.
about an $80 hat.
Yeah.
Which when I first saw the video, I thought, I'm gonna send this kid a new hat.
Hat, for sure.
And she said, I could buy him a hat, but this hat means a lot to him. So can anybody help?
Yeah.
So I'll be sending that hat back to her next week.
All right. Well, we will be looking at watching, I guess, and to see how that turns out. So good luck on it.
Okay. Yeah, it's almost done now.
It's almost done?
Yeah, I had to re-dye it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it was faded out.
We've got to take a quick break here to reset cameras, but we're going to find out more about how do you dye a wool hat here in just a minute. I won't change a crown. Do you change a crown on pre-shaped?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a recrowner that's older than you and me put together.
All right.
When I got it in, I took it apart and it had one of those old-fashioned coils that does like this, and then it heats up and turns orange.
Okay.
And I thought, that thing is a fire hazard waiting to happen. So what I did is I pulled the guts out of it, put a light bulb in it.
All right.
Capped it, and then I get this recrowner that's hot enough that it's not going to scorch the felt. What I do is I'll over steam a pre-shaped hat, and then I'll pop it on here. I'll remove the liner, pop it on the recrowner, roll it around. I can take all the lines out and the weak spots, and then put a new shape in the hat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. Have you got a video on something like that?
Yeah, I'm sure I do. I have like 160 or 70 videos.
So your videos, they're mostly tips and tricks,
Yep.
or are they hat shaping? What is your main focus in your videos?
As boring as it seems, hat education.
Hat education.
What to do, what not to do. Simple things like every boxed hat comes with a plastic bag. When you pull that plastic bag, or you pull that hat out of the plastic bag, throw that plastic in the trash.
Yes.
The hat needs to breathe.
Right.
People think, they go out dancing, they sweat in their felt hat, they grab the box, grab that plastic, put that nice hat they've spent $1,000 on, in that plastic, put it on the top rack in the closet where it's warm and bacteria can grow.
Absolutely.
And
Mold, mildew.
And then the mold happens to the hat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a big thing. So we do that as well. Unfortunately, all of our videos are long format, so all of the good stuff is buried deep in those long format videos. So I really applaud you for putting those out in kind of bite-sized videos where people can.
Well, nobody wants to hear me talk for a long time.
Nobody wants to hear me talk for a long time either, but I do it anyway because I can. There she is.
But yeah, I like to recrown. I like to recrown hats.
That's new to me, and I'm definitely going to have to look more into it. We know a lot of hat makers, and that's going to be my next question tomorrow, probably. Hey, you know about this? How come I don't know about it? So where do you find something like that? I mean,
I got that off of eBay, and I had to bid on it. Millinery tools, which for folks who don't know, that's hat equipment. It's hard to find, and when you can find it, it's very expensive. I bought a brim curler, to put pencil roll in a hat. It's solid brass and wood. Cost me $400.
Oh yeah, it's not cheap. I don't know if you can see behind me. We've got blocks back here. We've got all kinds of blocks. We've got brim curlers, and just because we need those things for the school, it's not cheap. Luckily, two things, right? So a lot of this stuff isn't produced anymore, and if it is, somebody saw the writing on the wall, and now they're producing it. I hear there are some guys out of Poland, I believe.
Poland is where I got my curler.
Yeah. So they're making those now There's some guys doing them out of 3D printed materials. But the really old, brass and wood ones,
Right.
you either find somebody who has one from 100 years ago, or the guys in Poland who are now making them.
Earlier we were talking about heat transfer.
Yeah.
That brass is perfect for that. Where
Yes.
wood
Or
you're still
3D
gonna have
printed.
the same trouble.
Right. 3D printed is the same thing. You gotta pull that heat, away from that in order to set that felt in there. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go over it again and again while it's kind of cooling down. And that's something we tell people, when we're doing the hat shaping school. When you're shaping, especially a crown or a brim or those detailed areas, hold in that spot. Don't just put it in there and let go.
Right.
You got to hold it in there and let that felt cool down, and it'll take that shape. And
I use a fan.
yes, fans are great
for that very reason.
Absolutely, a fan is great to have when you're shaping. If you don't have one, there are some tricks you can use when you fan the hat itself.
Yeah, when I first started, I remember seeing a guy blow on the hat. I'm like, why don't we have a fan?
Yes.
So
yeah. So do you have all the tools you need at Cavender's?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, does Cavender supply those, or did you have to buy them yourself? Because I'm going to say this, because when I was at Cavender's, I had the bare necessities at Cavender's. We had a brush or two. We had a steamer. We had some tape. No, we didn't have tape all the time. I actually bought a roll of a whole, I don't know what, about 6 or 8 rolls of tape, and brought those in.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of things that Cavender's doesn't stock at the hat bar, and so I know I had to bring my own stuff a lot of times. How about you?
Well, I'm very fortunate. Cavender's has supplied me everything that I need to do my job.
Good.
Now, specialty equipment like a recrowner, which nobody knows what is.
I didn't even know what it was, so that's interesting.
So I bought that on my own. The brim curler, bought that on my own. But I mean, that's just my thing.
Yeah.
I'm certain that if I turned in an expense report for it, they'd probably reimburse me. I never have discussed it with them. But in terms of getting me what I need, no problem.
Good. That's really good. I think we kind of talked about this off camera. Cavender's has come a long way into the social media area.
Yeah.
And so what do they think about your videos?
Oh, they're okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Why wouldn't they be?
Well, absolutely, right? It's just, the Western industry is kind of slow to embrace the social media.
That's true. Can't argue with that. But when you have something that has worked for nearly 60 years,
yeah, why change it?
Yeah, veering off is that's a little difficult.
Yeah.
But no, right now Cavender's actually has a social media group that handles stuff like that, and I'm in contact with them. I never put anything out on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube that is not going to meet Cavender standards and convey what I want at the same time.
Well, how about this? Do they help you out at all? Do they share your videos and stuff like that?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
That would be...
But I can tell you, almost every time I speak with someone in corporate, they'll say, hey, I saw that video. So they definitely know what I'm doing.
Right. Hey, if they're not sharing it, they should be. Help you out there.
Yeah.
All right. What's next? I'm kind of lost. We were kind of talking here.
Well, I've got people here asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let's hear some questions.
Let's take a look at Facebook here. Scott wants to know if concrete tops work like granite.
I'm sorry?
Scott is asking if concrete tops work
No.
like granite.
No, they won't work as well. Concrete is made of sand, and sand is not a good conductor, or it's not a good material for heat transfer. It will work better than wood,
Yeah.
but it's not going to work like granite.
I've never tried that. So, I mean, concrete, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. How do you stiffen a hat that has become soft from steaming and drinking over the years?
I would love to hear your answer because I have a solid opinion on this.
Okay, so the first thing I will do is I will put the hat under heat compression. And heat compression is just a fancy way of saying iron. Once the fibers get real loose, then with an iron at the hottest setting, with a material over the wool or the felt, if you compress it like that, those fibers lay down and interlock again. So then after the hat is completely dry, then I'll hit it with stiffener and let it dry overnight. And that helps. That's what I've had to do with that hat, what I'm calling now the tornado hat.
The tornado hat.
Yeah.
And I could see that on wool. I am very opposed to using stiffener on anything except inside the crown.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is it will crystallize on the surface of a hat that has a good factory finish on it.
Right.
And so if we're talking about a hat that's already lost its finish, if we've had to strip everything down and resand it, then maybe, okay. But I look at it this way. When they're making those hats, in order to get them stiff, they're using a plater, right? So they're plating that hat using heat and steam. And that's what actually causes that hat to get stiff. So I agree with you 100%. Ironing is the best way to stiffen a hat, especially a fur felt. I just personally don't like stiffener due to what it can do to the finish.
I don't use stiffener unless I absolutely have to.
Right.
I mean, if the hat has lost all of its rigidity and is floppy, well, you know, you do things you wouldn't normally do.
Yes.
But I mean, if it's just a tiny bit, now, I actually stay away from chemicals as much as possible.
Right.
All right, then we have Mike K who says,
Hey, Mike.
Joe and Lawrence / Houston Hat Guy. How often do you get customers who are new to having their hats shaped? How does the cowboy hat scene compare between Houston and Louisiana?
Okay, well, let's see. The first part of that is people who are new to hats.
How often do you get like someone getting their first?
Oh, every single day. Yeah. Oh, every day. Had a guy come in. You're gonna love this.
Yeah.
This, you know, people don't really, they don't get hats, and if they don't know about it, guy comes in. We're one of the larger stores, the Houston 290 store.
Right.
So we've got a pretty large hat selection. The guy walks in. He takes a look around. He said, "Are these all just for men, or are they all bisexual?"
Bisexual.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously he meant unisex, but I did not have the heart to correct him. So I just said, "Yes, sir, all my hats are bisexual." but to the point, every single day. You know, and they actually, some people will come in almost apologetic, as if they don't have the right to wear a cowboy hat. They don't own a horse. So, you know, hey, is it okay if I wear this? The people who say, you know, all hat, no cattle.
Yeah.
If they're implying that you cannot wear a cowboy hat if you're not a cowboy hat, I would say they're all mouth and no brains.
Yes.
Because
I agree.
Anybody who likes it can wear it. So I help them through the process. And I always tell everybody, don't rush it. The only person that's going to rush you is you. You take your time. Once you find a hat that you think you might want, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the way it fits. Let's talk about the shape. And I want them to leave with confidence. Because let's face it, if you have a hat that you're not confident about, you're not wearing it.
Oh, that's true. That's 100% true. I've got a story about that. So I don't, personally, I don't like black hats. It's just, I never have liked them. And, you know, everybody in the world who has a cowboy hat has a black hat.
Yep.
So just to be different, I stay away from black hats. Of course, I have a black hat. Everybody's got to have a black hat just in case, right? But I had this American 40X black, and it was 4.5-inch brim. Didn't like it. Didn't like the shape that was in it. Cut it down to 4.25. Still didn't like it. Crown was too low. Just didn't like the way it felt. I never could like that hat. And it has since been replaced with another 40X Black American that is now open and flat and has been that way for about a year. It's just sometimes, you know, there's a hat you can't.
Right. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. As to what the difference is between hat wearers in Texas and Louisiana,
Yes.
more people in Texas wear hats than in Louisiana.
Well, I'm sorry, you said Houston, not Louisiana specifically.
Houston? I don't know that I can answer that question.
Do you see a lot
I
of
haven't
hats?
been in, I mean, I go to Louisiana all the time, but I've never worked in Louisiana as a hat guy. So I really can't answer that one.
Okay.
Do you see a lot of hats in Houston?
Oh, yeah.
I only, when we go down there, we really only go to the hat store. So I haven't really, I don't know.
Well, you got to swing by Cavender's and come see
We
me, man.
will come down there next time we're in Houston.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Happy to
Put it
have
on the
you.
calendar.
Happy to have you.
All right.
And one of our members, Jonathan Castillo, asks, how do you shackle a brim?
So I'm assuming that means using a curling iron.
How do you shackle?
Shackle, S-H-A-C-K-L-E. Shackle?
So a curling iron is sometimes called a shackle. So I'm assuming he means how to curl the brim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never heard that term before. So if he's talking about to put the curl in a brim, it's a pencil roll or a pencil curl, which you use that device that I was telling you about earlier.
All right. Jonathan, JJ.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Johnson. How do you round a hat for rounded shapes as opposed to creasing for a square front? Is the process similar or is there a trick?
This is a good question because it's something that specifically comes up in the hat shaping school. How do you treat a squared off brim differently than a rounded brim?
So I cheat. And what I do is I will ask them, okay, do you want it real tight? Do you want it a very smooth? Something like this, okay? And let's say that this is what they want, pretty wide.
Right.
What I will do is I will take the hat and put 2 breaks right here. I'll shape the sides, and then after I get the sides the way that I want them, then I'll smooth out those breaks and put the swoop in it.
Yep. Every hat that we do, every hat that we teach starts with a squared off brim and then you round it afterwards.
Yep. A lot of people have more trouble with a round brim than a squared brim.
And that's probably because they're not squaring it off first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because he says it's really easy. I found to accidentally crease a hat when you're trying to avoid creases on a rounded shape. He says, did say crease. Jeff Swain asks, is it better to buy some cheap felt or wood or cheap straw to practice?
So, in my opinion, if you have a decent felt and you have the tools to work it, right? So you'll need a block and probably an iron and a steamer. I would say a decent felt, something that's gonna hold up, is a good thing to kind of start with.
So when the kids that come in and they want to learn, I make certain that they learn on wool first.
Yeah.
Because if you can become competent with wool, when you move to felt, it's going to make you so much better of a shaper.
Yeah.
Because wool is a nightmare.
Yes. And we talked about this because we teach on Bangora and then Shantung, and then we also teach on wool and then felt. for felt. But if you've already started and you need to practice over and over again,
Yeah.
I think just because of the material, you want to buy one decent hat.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to buy one decent hat, then you don't have to. I just think felt or wool, it's gonna get those creases really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think they necessarily go back to an open and flat as easily as something better. So I mean, but we do use the wool hats for learning to shape in the initial stages.
All right. Is it? Oh, that's the same question. Someone was asking if what your thoughts are on hat stiffener and water repellent on hats.
Again, I stay away from chemicals. If it's a nice felt hat, don't put chemicals on it. It doesn't need it.
Right.
And the chemicals are just going to build up. I see kids come in every day and then spray the dark cleaner, and within 6 months that hat's going to be gray if it's a black hat. So I just stay away from it.
So one thing I noticed working with kids at Cavender's is they come in and they tweak on those hats every day. Mm-hmm. They'll tweak on their hat every day and they'll spray it every day. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, I have never one time used dark spray on my personal hats. I'll use them at the hat bar, right? Because it's part of the show.
Yeah.
But on my personal hats, never, not one time.
Same here.
All right. Travis Williamson says, LBJ used to say, "All hat, no cattle," with reference to anyone, especially other politicians who couldn't back words with action.
I like that.
Yeah.
LBJ, who wore the open road, Stetson open road.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How about those? How are those in Houston? Do those get a lot of play? People buying a lot of those open roads?
You know, it goes in waves.
Yeah.
Where I'll get people who come in and they want one. And then for a while I don't hear anything. And then people do. But that's a fascinating hat. And the story behind that hat is pretty cool.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay. I'm a hat nerd, so you asked me to get on my soapbox.
Right.
You may have to knock me off. I tell people that if you have insomnia, let me start talking about hats and I'll cure it.
All right.
When Kennedy was president, he nearly killed the hat industry.
We just had a conversation about this.
Is that right?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Because he didn't wear a hat. So hat sales plummeted. When LBJ came into office wearing the open road, then everybody ran out and bought an open road. I have a photograph of me, and I'm nearly 100, getting a haircut in a high chair in the backyard. My grandfather is cutting my hair wearing an open road, a silver belly open road. Best I could tell, it was silver belly.
Right.
It was black
and
white.
white.
But yeah, so everybody from skateboarding hipsters to 95-year-old men wear
and
that
everyone
hat.
in between.
Yep, and can pull it off.
Mike says, "I like the Houston hat guys hat bar setup, so I don't mind. It looks very inviting." Yes, it's amazing. We just saw it.
Your mobile hat bar, the mobile hat bar?
Yeah.
Is that what he's talking about? Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. I asked him to make me one, and he said he's never making another one.
Well, I mean, I nearly killed myself making that one. No, it's a success. I only electrocuted myself 3 times and shot myself with a nail gun twice. So, yay.
All right, so we'll probably reset, and you're going to show us some tricks here tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Lawrence, you're going to do a couple things for us. We asked you in to do a hat for me, but you told us you had some kind of tricks that you could show our audience.
Yeah.
And so we grabbed an American Hat Company practice hat,
right.
And you're going to show us a trick to get a crown right every time. Is that the?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so is this the camera that we're looking at, or?
Well, we got 5 of them. You can pick which one you
Okay.
want. So this is your close-up.
Okay.
We got one on the down here, and then we got one
Okay.
for both of us. So I think we're good.
All right. So what I'm about to show you is not for those who are learning how to shape. If you're learning how to shape, I want you to be able to do everything by hand. But if you are proficient in hat shaping and you're confident in it, then you can branch out and do things to make you faster. For example, in Houston, where we've got the rodeo, being good is not good enough. You got to be good and fast. So anything that can help you be faster, a hat shape should take no more than 10 minutes tops.
Right.
You know, you could say, well, 15 minutes is only, you know, what's 15 minutes? Well, imagine you're the 5th guy in line. That means you're going to wait an hour before the hat shaper gets to your hat.
Right.
So what I'm going to show you is how you can make a brick, or how you can make a kojo, or any number of shapes that start with a block. Of course, if I were doing this for, you know, a customer, I'd have them put the hat on their head and get a good marker. I'll often have people say, hey, my husband sent me here, will you shape this hat? And I'll do everything I can to talk them into having the husband come in.
Absolutely. You need your head in that.
Yeah, I tell them, I don't need him, just his head. So, a block. Simple as that.
What is that?
This is 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. I'm going to line it up, and then I'm going to let the block do all of the work. Like that. If I don't get it right on the first shot, I'll do that. And what that leaves us is a starter for a very sharp brick. If I were going to make a kojo, I'd round this out, but I'll just do a brick. Again, the tricks, don't start doing this. Do not learn by doing this, because what will happen is if you learn with this and then you don't have your block with you, or you lose it and someone comes in and they want a brick and you're used to using the block, then you're pretty much screwed.
I can imagine if you were doing a size 8, that would also be a problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you noticed, but as I was depressing the sides, I was also working on my side dimples.
Well, we teach that as well. That's kind of part of it, right? So you pull the sides in and get your dimple at the same time.
Right. So all I'm going to do is pop the inside and then start working this edge right here. I'm going to pinch and pull at the same time.
So do you start with a center crease in your pop-up, or how do you do your pop-up there? I can't see from this angle. So do you start with a center crease?
Yeah.
In the pop-up?
Yeah. Just about every shape always started with a center crease.
Everything. Well, let's see. What doesn't start with a center crease?
A CHL. Well, no, because you
Can.
start with it. Yeah. West Texas Punch. No center
Yeah,
crease.
there's no center crease in that one.
Okay, so clearly I can make this sharper, but basically you get the idea.
All right.
So if you know how to shape, make one of these. If you don't know how to shape, forget you saw this.
And go check out Cowboy Cartel online hat shaping school for techniques on how to learn to start shaping. Or join us for one of our in-person hat shaping classes. We got one coming up in September.
Coming up 6th and 7th of September, we got a 2-day class, and we got 12th, 13th, and 14th of September for the 3-day class.
All right, so that was a pretty interesting technique. I have not seen that ever. Definitely something to, I'm gonna have to try something like that and see what I can do. So thanks for that trick there. Lawrence, we've got the American 7710 here. You are gonna be shaping this up for me this year. This is one of my hats. This is one of American's new straws for this year. And I noticed that you are wearing another one of their new hats for this year. Tell us about your hat. What, Lorena is gonna have to tell us what the model is.
That's the 8120.
So you're wearing the 8120.
I'm wearing the 8120.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
So what shape are you wearing? Because I know we're going to get asked in the comments.
Dude, I have no freaking clue. I got to look.
You have more hats. You have as many hats as I do.
When people say, hey, I want that shape, I got to go look in the mirror. Okay. Yeah, a minute.
Minnick.
Yeah.
And what about the brim? It's nice and round in the front.
Do you remember how we were talking about how to round out a hat? If you'll see, here's my breaks right here. Because I love that line right here that makes a shadow. And then I just knocked out the corners.
Yep.
Or what I call the breaks.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a great way to start any hat is with the breaks. It's what we teach, and it's easy to pull them out in either a felt or a straw. So. All right, so this is going to be my hat, and I'm really super simple when it comes to hats. I like a cattleman crown, and I like about a 7.5 or 8-inch wide J brim, kind of relaxed sides, not too high. And you think you can do that for me today?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it to it.
All right.
Okay. Well, you know the drill.
I do.
All right. What do I have to mark it with?
So there should be an American patch over there, and the good thing about an American patch is it has a little tab that you can pull off the corner.
I see that. All right, man.
I'm an extreme long oval, and every hat has to be adjusted for me.
Extreme long oval.
Extremely.
That means your head is very aerodynamic.
Aerodynamic for sure. You know, it's funny, these videos actually started with us looking for, you know, the best hat shapers in Texas or in the area. And it's kind of turned into me just watching the different ways people shape hats.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know that there. People ask me all the time, you're a Houston hat guy. Does that mean you're the best in Houston? Well, here's what I know about that. Anyone who claims to be the best at anything is soon going to be proven wrong. So am I the best? Hell no. I am not the best. Well, I occasionally get it right. Yeah.
The pressure's on. So what was the first shape you learned how to make?
Ooh. I don't even remember.
What did you wear as a kid? What were you?
Man, I wore fedoras. I wore cowboy hats. I wore anything I could find. I got pictures of me looking so stupid that, like, what the hell do you have on your head?
So what's the most interesting shape you've been asked to make?
Okay. I'll have to, well, okay. So, I had a feeling you might ask that question. So, I had a guy who came in, and he was about 6'7", real tall, real young kid, tall and lanky. He said, I heard that you were pretty good with crowns. And he'd seen some of the videos of me putting a skull in a crown or whatever. So he says, I got to figure out how to make this clean for our audience. He says, okay, I'm so tall that no one can see my crown unless I want them to, unless I bend over. But when I bend over, I want people to know what's on my mind. So he kind of whispers what he wants. Mm-hmm. And I'll let your reaction, I actually brought a picture. I'll let your reaction to this shape tell the people what it actually is. So if you can imagine what every young man has on his mind constantly, this is what he wanted.
I knew what it was. I knew what it was before you even showed it to me. And if you were thinking that same thing, you are correct.
Oh, you're not going to show them.
we can blur it out. It is a vagina.
That is what it is called.
Dude, leave people to their imagination. Okay, I did not. Hey, Cavenders, I did not say that. That's this dude.
Cavenders, you had your chance.
Mercy.
What about, well, in the same vein, what is the most interesting thing you found inside a hat?
Oh, good Lord. Rat feces, cobwebs, you know, a hat that's been in the barn. Guy brought a hat in and said, hey, can you restore this? I'm like, yeah, but I always ask, do you know what this is so I'll know how to treat it? Mm-hmm. He said, oh, yeah, it's vomit.
Vomit?
Yeah. So somebody got sick and hurled into the hat.
I don't know if I would actually do that. I think you'd be on your own with that one.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah.
What about the
Huh? The strangest request I've ever had was that picture.
All right.
But I mean, people come in. I like doing this because I like people, and the crazier the better. You like a little bit of a dip in the front?
I like all the dip.
All the dip. All right.
So it's interesting. We always teach that you round out the back. And there's a really good reason for that. If you don't round out the back, you are going to fight those wings that they call them. And you're going to be fighting against that back. The back wants to be flat, and
right.
Everything that happens in the back translates to the front and vice versa. So if you don't get those, get that back rounded out, then you're going to have problems in the front.
Yep. Put a little more dip. And the question that somebody asked about using their steamer versus another one, yeah, I'm out of place right now using this one. I'm so used to my equipment that it's a whole lot different.
I could have glued that foot pedal down for you. That way you didn't have to chase it around.
Well, I thought about bringing my hat bar.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard getting it in here.
We
but-
have a service elevator.
Well, why didn't you tell me, man?
What's
To
that?
make another video, go to Houston.
Yeah,
So
we can go to Houston. Do
All
one for
right.
the car.
All right.
How are we looking? More than a millimeter?
2 millimeters.
2 millimeters.
Yep.
We got to fix that then.
Yep. Is that what you're looking for?
That looks pretty good, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it'd be better if I put it on my steamer, but it'll do in a pinch.
It'll do in a pinch. So let me ask you this: wearing an American hat now, is that kind of what you wear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Resistals and Stetsons, even Rodeo Kings and Saratellis, but my favorite is still American.
American makes a fantastic hat. Both felt and straw, right? So what is your go-to felt hat?
I have a 200X American Silver Belly. I love that thing. But my favorite is probably my 40X Midnight Blue.
Midnight Blue?
Yeah.
I don't have one of those. It's funny. I should have probably gotten one this year. We talked about it last year. I think, it might be a good alternative to black. I'm not a huge
You
fan
can wear it like a black hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. You really, because if you're not in the sunlight, you have a hard time telling that it's actually blue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially as you go up in the X Factor, it's like most of the other hats, the higher you get in the X Factor, the darker and deeper the colors look.
I mean, when I was in Vegas working NFR, I saw a Resistol 30X in rust, which happens to be UT's color. My daughter was just graduated from UT, so I bought that hat. And I've got a son, one of my sons just graduated from Virginia Tech. Okay. And they're maroon, which was the same color maroon as the American Grenadine.
Aha. Yeah.
So that was 2 excuses to buy a new hat.
My favorite.
Yes, she's got the Grenadine. She likes it quite a bit.
I love it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You got the natural this year too. I thought that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a pretty good hat too.
Yeah. Natural 100X and Grenadine. I have a question for you.
Yeah. All right.
What is your least favorite crown shape to do?
That's a good question.
My least favorite?
Let's start with this. What's your favorite, whether it be the easiest to make or just something you enjoy? What's your favorite shape to make?
The Hollywood hat.
The Hollywood hat. What is that?
The Hollywood hat is when people come in and say, "Can you do this?" And show me something different. Then I always like doing that.
Sure.
If it's a challenge, I get people who say, "I didn't watch Yellowstone when it first came out, not because I had any problem with it. I just didn't watch it." And people would come in and say, "Hey, give me a rip." I'm like, well, what the hell's a rip? I don't know what a rip is. Right. So I ended up watching it and liked it. But so many people say, "Hey, give me a John Dutton, give me a rip, give me this or that." I've made tons of Clint Eastwood hats, Doc Holliday's. Anyway, something that is out of the norm is what I like doing best. There's not a shape that I just don't like doing.
Well, we get requests for those kind of old obscure hats. I mean, I think we got requests for like Quigley Down Under, and it's just like all kinds of crazy stuff. And we never do them because the more modern shapes are really popular.
Let me have that hat. I see a spot that's bugging the heck out of me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we never wind up doing a lot of those old shapes. I think the closest we did was a telescope I did at Cavender's a few years ago.
Okay, that little bump was bugging me.
All right, there you go.
But yeah, I like doing those. Anything unusual is what I want to do. I was asked to do I don't know famous people from Adam. They gave me a yellow hat and said, brand this on it and give it a unique shape. Well, it turned out to be a famous rapper's hat.
Okay.
So what I did is I came up with a weird design where I take this top dimple or the crease right here and run it this way.
Okay.
And then on this side, run it the opposite direction. Turned out really cool.
So is it kind of like the rose crossover where?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what about your least favorite shape to make? If somebody comes in and they just say, all right, put this shape in for me. Is there anything that you just like, I just don't want to do that again? Or
No.
nothing?
No.
All right.
I mean, there's no shape that I'm tired of doing. I just like, when someone says, hey, I want something other than a Minnick or a cattleman, hey, good.
Well, that's another good point. So in Austin, you saw a lot of cattlemen, and that was kind of 90% of the hats that came through were cattlemen's. Here, depending on the area, it's a lot of Minnick. What do you see in Houston?
The Minnick rules.
Really?
Yeah. But I've also got a younger following, and I get a bunch of people that want a CHL or a punch, but primarily the Minnick. Yeah.
Well, the Minnick is really popular, especially in the Hispanic community. Do you speak Spanish at all?
I speak very little Spanish, but I mean enough to get by.
Yeah. If
someone wants, they start describing a shape. So, I mean, every hat shaper in America is very, very accustomed to someone saying, give me a George Strait.
Yes.
Only 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
So in the Hispanic community, there's a guy by the name of Johann Sebastian. And he is the George Strait of Mexico. So when they come in, they can't speak English, and I'm doing what I can to speak Spanish. They will always describe. And I say, como Sebastian? And they're like, this white guy knows that? So yeah, I mean, but that's the style most requested in the Hispanic community.
Cool. Well, Lawrence, thanks for coming out and taking care of us, shaping this up for me, and talking to us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And the next time we're in Houston, we're going to come down and see it. So, guys, if you are in the Houston area, Cavender's on 290, right?
Yep.
Give us your spiel.
My spiel. I don't have a spiel.
Come see me.
Okay.
That one.
You guys come see me. I'm at Cavender's on 290, and thanks for watching.
All right. Hey, buddy, thank you. Appreciate it. Guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.